Lakers, led by LeBron James and Anthony Davis, will begin defending their championship later this month. LeBron was on the Road Trippin' podcast recently and opened up about the boycott in the bubble last season. He said, quote, "So I got on the phone with Chris Paul because their game was next, and I called him and Russ Westbrook, and I told them straight up, there is no way that we can go out on the floor as the Lakers and play our game with what just transpired. What are you guys going to do?" And they felt the same way. "We would look stupid if we went out and played, and Milwaukee decided to sit down, and we've been preaching this solidarity thing as a brotherhood, because we are a brotherhood, even when you get blindsided from your brother." Right, those are very strong words, and joining us now to help break it all down, New York Times best-selling author Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, whose new book, Long Time Coming, Reckoning with Race in America, is now available, just came out yesterday. Dr. Dyson, thank you so very much for being here with us. I know all three of us super excited to have you on First Take. I want to start off by asking you, as we all know, season less than 3 weeks away from now, what responsibility does LeBron James and other players have in terms of keeping up with the fight of social justice during the upcoming season?
Well, they've taken on to themselves, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I think they've taken up themselves the mantle of leadership. We don't have to advise them. We don't have to counsel them. They already know what's at stake. No athlete, arguably, since Muhammad Ali, at the height of his fame, has leveraged his athletic ability in defense of social justice issues. And I think with the congregation of stars that are around the NBA right now as they begin to ramp up for this new season of 72 games, there's no question that LeBron James will continue to carry the responsibility along with those other conscientious stars, not only by wearing stuff on the back of their jerseys and representing what's on the front of those jerseys, but representing the broader interests of their communities. And we know athletics from the very beginning of African-American participation has always been connected to and tethered with a sense of social responsibility, whether it was Joe Louis in the ring with his fisticuffs, or Jackie Robinson on the diamond, or, you know, Bill Russell on the parquet floor at Boston. These athletes, or Wilma Rudolph, or you know, Althea Gibson in tennis, these women and men have understood that their athletic ability is subordinate to a broader concern about their race in the society. And LeBron James and those fellows in the NBA, and by the way, the WNBA, are doing an extraordinary job.
Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, always an honor and privilege to have you on the show, my brother. And by the way, it ain't just a New York Times bestseller. You're a 7-time New York Times bestseller. Let me make sure I throw that out there. But I ask you this question. When you, obviously the George
Bill
Floyd,
Russell of New York Times bestsellers.
Obviously the George Floyd killing was an inspiration. But just as an historian, that's willing, and an activist that you are, not just a professor, seeing what you saw from these NBA players, I wanted to know whether or not it caught you by surprise, or did you anticipate that this was a powder keg ready to burst at any given moment, and this ultimately was inevitable? What you saw transpired over the last few months.
Right. You know, given how brilliantly framed that, I want to say yes to both of those issues, right? On the one hand, it was certainly a powder keg waiting to happen, because after all, these are men and women who are involved and invested in their communities. And so what happens outside of that arena affects them inside the arena. They have emotions, they have heart, they have intelligence, they have empathy. They understand the context of their own suffering. LeBron James had the N-word scrawled on his house in Los Angeles even before he became a Laker. So he understood existentially what politically and conceptually was going on. But on the other hand, I think, Stephen A., you raised a very powerful point. We couldn't have anticipated that they would have a work stoppage on that day. We couldn't have anticipated that at that very moment, it was going to explode in such a way that they made a statement about the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and they would no longer stand for that. Not even sports, which relieves the suffering and burden of people. We turn to sports because our lives are either great or not so great. We want to be distracted. We want to be uplifted. We want to be edified. And when we look at those players on the arena floor, we are, for a moment, for 2.5 hours, taken away and distracted from whatever we got going on. But they said, in this moment, we know that's our responsibility, but our greater responsibility is to respond to social issues that affect all of our people, and to use our platform in an intelligent fashion to amplify and echo those great ideals.
Professor, let me add to the chorus of voices and say that you elevate and make better every TV and radio show you're on, and we're thrilled to have you, and I'm thrilled to have you on the show today. Let me ask you this, because you're also a little bit of a hot take sports guy. I've had lots of sports conversations with you, and we've debated sports. We teased this segment by saying how LeBron's social activism, according to Professor Dyson, does it elevate him above MJ? You know, I talk about boxing a lot, and Sugar Ray Robinson's the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of all time. But if you say in a larger sense, who's the greatest fighter ever, it's Muhammad Ali, because he was globally more significant as a result of his political and social activism. Does LeBron's activism mean that he eclipses Michael Jordan or Kareem even, who was also socially active, in a larger sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you know, my troika, my triumvirate, my trilogy, my three would be Kobe, LeBron, and Jordan for different reasons. Jordan for the unprecedented, unparalleled, and perhaps unduplicatable feat of, at the height of gym shoe mania in America, that he helped spark. At the height of the globalization of the game, he and David Stern taking it global, the ability to use his magic on the court to really conquer the world can never be duplicated, because it came at a particular time in a post-civil rights generation where this figure, a dark-skinned black man, bore on his shoulders the burden of representing a sport that had 50 years ago been quite complicated when it came to black folk. Kobe Bryant, the pure skill, the pure talent, the footwork, the majesty on court, taking difficult shots, making them over taller opponents than even a Michael Jordan. But then when you come to LeBron James, when he's a hybrid of a Magic and a Michael, and yet producing a tertium quid, as they say, a third thing, something we've never seen before. And when you look at the freakish nature of his athleticism, joined to, at the height of his fame and his global acclaim, being willing to take a stand in defense of social justice issues and peoples whose backs are against the wall, he's incomparable and in the class by himself. So at that level, if we're gonna throw everything into the hopper, it would be hard to say that anybody is greater than LeBron at that level.
Well, nothing LeBron can't or won't do. And Dr. Dyson, we still have lots that we want to talk to you about, so you're not going anywhere, but we do have to take a quick break. Also, coming up on First Take, we have so much more to get to. The Steelers, they show no signs of slowing down in the regular season.